Well, after a long wait, the presidential candidate of the APC, the All Progressive Congress, Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has released his manifesto titled Renewed Hope, Action Plan for a Better Nigeria. Well, the manifesto was unveiled on Friday by President Muhammadu Buhari, who stated that the transition to another APC government is as vital as the 2015 victory of the party. What is striking in Mr. Tinubu's document is that there are certain promises in 2015 APC manifesto of change that have been carried over to the new documents. Well, the documents has generated mixed reactions from different quarters. Some have lauded some of the initiatives in the documents, while others described it as lacking in specifics. Seun Onigbinde, the head of the non-profit organization Budget, tweeted that even though the documents lack details, it contains some good ideas. The Bola Ahmed Tinubu manifesto is hardly quantitative, which of course just reading through makes it hard to really understand what one expects to hold him to account for, especially on the numbers. However, I concede that there are some good ideas in the documents. A full review will come, of course, with time. He tweeted, let's look at some of the promises in the document. And then we're going to be looking at the manifesto of the presidential candidate of the APC, and we'll just do a very, very quick review, even as the CEO and the publisher of Ovation, Dele Momudu, has described it as a copy and paste of the Abiola's manifesto. Well, there were quite a number of things mentioned there, just like Onigbide said here, that it lacked details. It lacked details, and that's to, in a way, make it difficult for you to hold anyone accountable for. Okay, you said you were going to repair 5 refineries, and so now you have not been able to refine. You know those details where you are very, very careful. You do not. But then it also shows that there are repetitions in what was done in 2015, the Change Manifesto. Why are there repetitions of the same in Renewed Hope? Of course, that's the description. That's the name that was given to, that is being given to the new document, the manifesto of the APC. Well, we're going to be looking into this particular matter, but then I want us to look at it from the angle of the CEO of the Ovation, so that we have a better, since he had done a little bit of digging deep into it. So, well, let's look at it. Well, Dele Momudu, publisher of Ovation magazine, has described the manifesto of Bola Tinubu, presidential candidate of the APC, as an appropriation of MK Abiola's legacy. APC and its presidential candidate released the 80-page manifesto tagged Renew Hope 2023 on Friday. Like I mentioned earlier, the ruling party promised to solve Nigeria's security and economic problem if re-elected next year. That was the promise when they were coming in 2015, yet they were not able to do that. In fact, killings in the last 7 years and little above has been more than all that has been experienced under the PDP before they came into power. It has been alarming. Kidnapping at its peak. It's now a lucrative. They now make it a lucrative business to kidnap people. People cannot now travel from, come home from abroad and go to their houses. Nobody's trusted anymore. Insecurity at its peak. Well, thank you very much once again for joining us. This is Serious Matters on ONIF TV. Please note that, and when you're dropping your comment, make them simple and civil. You see, we have been on the matter of electing a credible candidate come 2023, because, like I would always say, Nigeria is on the precipice. When sometimes I think about the situation of Nigeria, I move to tears, and sometimes I weep. I'm not just moved to tears. Sometimes I weep for the situation and everything that we're going through. You know why I weep? I weep because we don't deserve what we are getting. I weep because we have what it takes to take care of the situation, yet we are not harnessing them. Well, we're harnessing them for the wrong reasons. Just take crude oil, for instance. Take crude oil. Why would more than 90% of what is being produced as a nation be stolen? And these things, crude oil, the stealing of crude oil is not paper. They are procedures. These things are stolen by vessels. The vessels are used to steal these things. Now, these vessels have to go through ports, waterways, and there are naval officers. There are Air Force officers taking care of those pathways. And yet these stealings go on and has been on and on and on. And it's more alarming when, you know, salaries of people who earn millions are being paid, and yet people who earn 30,000 as minimum wage are being owed. Pensioners are being owed. Gratuities are not being paid. It becomes a thing of favor. It becomes a thing of, it's like doing the people a favor when you pay them their salary. It's not supposed to be. It's not supposed to be. Some people, I don't understand, seriously. Like a retired naval officer, as I was reading in the news, a retired naval officer was talking about a particular presidential candidate, and that presidential candidate was said to have two private jets. Was a two-time governor, two-tenor governor, and he's been out of office for quite some time now, and yet his office or his business or his organization still remains the one collecting revenues for the state. Where do these people get the money that they spend? What business do they do? What do they do? What's their business? What do they do that they are flying jets around? Somebody needs to answer us. Until we get to the precipice or that point where we become accountable to ourselves. We'll become accountable to ourselves. Leaders become fully accountable. ASU spent about 8 months, over 8 months. Now, they suspended the strike. They didn't call it off. They suspended it. Upon a few billions, maybe a little over 1 trillion. For the betterment of their job, to make their jobs much easier. Whereas people who, somebody wears agbada and comes into a place and say, those that are in support say A, say I, and they say I. Some of them don't even say I because they are sleeping. And yet they get this allowance, they get that allowance, they get that allowance, they get this allowance, they get this allowance. Why are we doing this to ourselves? Now look at the budget of 2023. It's heavy. Now close to 30 trillion. That's terrible. And more than half of it is going to be funded with borrowed money. Borrowed money. Monies are being budgeted for clinics that are not being used. Monies are being budgeted, billions of naira are being budgeted for stationaries. Borrowed money. Further deepening the neck of the nation in indebtedness. Maybe I'll show you. I'm going to show you. You know, somebody, the spokesperson of the APC said Bola Ahmed Tinubu will rule Nigeria exactly the way Buhari ruled Nigeria. He's going to rule Nigeria the way Buhari ruled. And when I read it, when I saw that tweet, I said, this man is warning Nigerians against voting for the presidential candidate of the APC. Go and read that statement again. Go and read that statement again. It's unfortunate. You see, God has so helped us that we are, you know, the human hearts, where the wellspring of, you know, reasoning, where we conjure and cook the whole matter before we speak out, you know, is covered. And I can imagine if there was a port where, you know, a USB cable can just be plugged through, and then we can now begin to read everything on your mind on the system. It would have been very good. Then you would have seen the reason why Keyamo made that statement. You know he's doing his job. You know he's getting paid for whatever he's doing. He's getting paid. Just like sometimes you might not align, it might not be fine with you. It doesn't have to be fine with you as long as it's a job that you signed to be paid for. You've got to do it. He will have to clarify and come back and tell us why or what he meant by saying that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu will rule Nigeria the way Buhari ruled it. Is this government, is it palatable? Because a few of you are enjoying yourself under the leadership of this government does not mean that, look at the number of people that are jetting out of this country at so exorbitant prices. It costs millions of naira to even japa. Well, let's talk about this manifesto, because these guys don't have anything fresh to talk about. It's only a recycling of this old wine. It's a recycling of an old wine in old wine skin. They want to pour. There is nothing new about what is being done, what is being presented to us. I will now take my PVC and I go and vote for this. But God, for crying out loud. Well, that's my choice. That's my choice. No. They have nothing new. There is nothing new about. Look at the manifesto. Let's dig a little bit into it. I want us to dig a little bit into it. Maybe we should talk. Let's look at Dele Momudu's opinion first. The ruling party promised to solve Nigeria's security and economic problem if re-elected next year. Well, they didn't solve it now. They're going to solve it next year again. After 8 years, they will now promise to solve it again. I think, Nigerians. Well, Momudu, who is the director of strategic communication of the People's Democratic Party presidential campaign, criticized the document in an article published on Sunday. In the article titled APC Renewed Hope or Fallen Hope, he said the document is filled with half-thoughts, poor reasoning, and copied notes from Abiola's Hope 93 manifesto. Abiola was the presidential candidate of the Social Democratic Party SDP in 1983 election. He was adjourned to have won the presidential pool before it was annulled by the then President Ibrahim Babangida, the then head of state. Momudu emphasized the difference between Abiola and Tinubu, describing the later presidential bid as a fallen hope. He described the manifesto as an insult to the sensibility and needs of Nigerians and accused the author of copy and paste. They didn't even, because there's nothing new to offer. There's nothing new to offer. Now, he said, let's look at it. This might be a bit longer anyway. After carefully, I beg your pardon. After carefully reading through the much-awaited APC presidential campaign manifesto that was released over the weekend, we cannot but conclude that the elephant has given birth to an ant. After such a long delay, what the APC presidential candidate has come up with is a series of platitude, half-thought, poor reasoning, copied notes packaged and presented as renewed hope. The APC and its presidential candidate Bola Ahmed Tinubu could not even come up with something original, something new. Renewed hope. Really? This is again another attempt by the APC candidate to appropriate Bashorun MKO Abiola's legacy. It would be more statutory if we were to run on his theme instead of copying the memory of a man whose life trajectory was uncommon and whose hope for Nigeria was noble. And the APC candidate should be reminded that 1993 is far different from 2023. The Ovation publisher said the late MKO was known for industry and brilliance. Shall we ask what the APC candidate is known for? What is he known for? What job does he do? What work does he do? What's his business? Whereas MKO's Hope 93 was a genuine cause for the APC and Nigerians. It is a fallen hope. And that's the message of Bola Tinubu and the APC campaign 2023. We'll forget about the fact that this is coming from the opposition party. Because for me, both the PDP and the APC, they are the same. Yes, you said these people, they come from APC to PDP. It's just a recycle. You've seen people, you have Atiku, the presidential candidate of the People's Democratic, was once in APC. And so, what are we talking about? We were once together. And so let's continue. In all honesty, the 80-page document that the APC has put together comes across as little more than an insult to the sensibility and needs of Nigeria. At a time when the country is in dire need of clear leadership with vision and courage, a new dimension of leadership, a new style of leadership, not recycled mindset, not recycled leadership. All the APC seems capable of doing is generally copying and paste, regurgitating ideas of others with nothing original or breathtaking. Asiwaju says he knows the way. With due respect, he does not. On more than one occasion, he has advertised himself as the architect of the victory of the APC in 2023. Their party slogan then was change. In 8 years, they have not been able to change anything positive. They have led Nigerians into a ditch. Inflation is close to 21%. Unemployment rate is at 33%. I want us to look at the content. I want us to face the content. Forget about the person, the medium. Don't leave the medium alone. Let's look at the content. Don't be sentimental. Let's be realistic for once. Let's just do the right thing. Let's not be political about everything. Let's not bring politics into everything. Let's just be realistic for once. Now, the Naira is one of the worst performing currencies against the dollar in the world today, at around 710 Naira to $1. That's crazy. The suicide rate in the country has risen terribly because the people have lost hope. Divorce rates too, because it has become high too, divorce rate, because the APC and its leader have castrated families and ruined the other room. Women are leaving husbands. Thus, they have worsened the condition of Nigerians. Now, in 2022, Tinubu says he wants to take Nigeria on a journey to nowhere. Most certainly, or to be precise, to perdition. And we will not be a part of that journey, as the Lord lives. A week ago, he promised that he would ensure the continuity of the current administration. What does he want to continue? If I may ask, you mean the poverty? You mean the agony and cluelessness that the APC have imposed on Nigeria? That's a concern for me. The imposition style of leadership. The imposing style of leadership. The imposing style of leadership. Now, like a crafty student trying to avoid being caught in the act of plagiarism, the author of the document have tried to rewrite some unoriginal ideas. The authors of the document do not only offend Nigerians with their collections of cliches and pedestrian ideas, but they offend, expose, and indict the APC candidate, Chief Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He said, I urge you in the spirit of fairness to interrogate what the APC calls a manifesto. You will see that they are promising exactly what they have not been able to achieve in 8 years. It's just the same thing again and again. It's just the same thing. Now, I would allow us to go through. We will touch the manifesto also. We'll touch the manifesto, but let us take some sense from what this man is saying. Now, Chief Bola Tinubu is not new to Nigerian politics. It is sad that he allows some people to copy and repackage without tact or grace the Abiola Hope 93 manifesto and mixed it with the 2015 APC Buhari manifesto for him. They even have the impudence to target renewed hope. Nigerians do not need a copy and paste manifesto. They want details. They want original. They want something new. We want to hear something new. We want to see something new. We want something that we can hold on to. We want somebody that is accountable. Somebody who will behave like Liz Truss when we say this thing, we don't want it. You are choking us, and will honorably leave the stage for us. The way this country is right now, offering the people empty promises will not take us forward. The question for every presidential candidate is how? How will you solve the problem? We all know what the problem is. Tell us how. For 8 years, Bola Tinubu has projected himself as the power behind the throne. He said he's the one. And that was where the Emilokon struggle started from anyway. He said he was the one who made Buhari president. His party has failed to lead Nigeria forward. He said they must not blame, they must stop blaming the People's Democratic Party. All this blame game. I know the People's Democratic Party also did theirs too, but I think this blame game should stop. It is a bad omen of leadership. It is a bad omen of leadership to give excuse for everything. Leaders take responsibility. You take responsibility. You are not called, you are in charge of a team. You're in charge of a team. So your team does somehow. And then they now say, what now happened? You say it was the people, it's the team. No, you failed as a leader. You failed as a leader. They must stop blaming the world and blaming COVID-19 for everything. When did COVID-19 come? Just 2020. That was when COVID-19 came. So which one are you blaming COVID-19 for what? What state and position were we before COVID-19 came? How much was $1 at that time? The moment you came in, the price of fuel jumped up, even though you are still paying subsidy. What made the price to jump up? We don't know. And the most unfortunate part is you don't even listen to the people. You don't listen. You don't listen. Rather, people have been threatened. Young chaps came out to protest at the Lekki toll gate in 2020, and all we saw was shooting and somebody died and all sort of things. They were being dispersed. There was even a memorial for them, some days ago, and canisters and all those sorts were still being shot there. It simply shows that we have not learned our lessons. It simply shows that we've not gotten it right. It shows we've not gotten it right. And we have to. The earlier the better for us. We have to. We blame people for everything. We blame and keep blaming. They must stop blaming people. The duty of government is to provide leadership and solve problems. Leadership is about managing people and resources. Nigeria urgently requires a leader with exemplary capacity and ability to lead a nation in confusion with distinction and never with untested experimentation. Untested experimentation. I mean, oh, come on. We've already gone through calamitous experiments in the last 8 years. The APC government is the only government that blames others and the past for its lack of innovations and creativity. It's only APC. They blame others for their woes all the time. He said, I insist that the author of the APC Manifesto exposed and indicted both the APC and the Chief Bola Tinubu, the authors of the document, whoever they are, seem so disrespectful of Nigerians that they do not seem to care to know what Nigerians will ask where, Chief Bola Tinubu and his running mate when the current administration was getting things wrong with a similar game plan and manifesto. What did they and other APC members say or do in private or public to warn the government about their underperformance? What did they do? What did they do or say? What did they do or say in private or in public to remind the outgoing APC administration that they failed to keep the promises they made to us in 2015? What advice or suggestions did they offer to the outgoing? I mean, if you say you are the one who brought it, then why didn't you help them? If you say you have something new, why didn't you give it to this administration? It would have been a smooth ride for the APC. A smooth ride. And to now make matters more, you now bring a leader who's a man whose health is questionable. everything about the APC presidential candidate. There's questions. People are asking all sort of questions. Are you fine? Is he okay? Is he this? Is that? Is this? Even went to Kano this, recently. He got to Kano and people were saying say Baba, say Atiku. And people agreed. People agreed to say Atiku. It's somehow. People were saying say Atiku. Nashiwaji Bola Ahmed Tinubu dey there. Man, and they agreed to say Atiku. Well, let me just round off Dele Momudu's part. Of course, I cut this one from the cables now. No other election in recent Nigeria history can be more important than the 2023 election. And I agree 120%, with that. Now, the time for progress has come, and 2023 must be a referendum on the APC. My appeal is that voters must vote wisely. He didn't even say vote for PDP. That's why I said that we should not be sentimental. That's why I said, Chief Dele Momudu has done a very good job here. So that's why I said it's not an issue of party. He said my appeal is that voters must vote wisely. And I hope that going forward, Chief Tinubu would make himself available to attend debates and respond to questions that will be raised to do so. And when he does so, he should please refrain from his predilection to reduce serious conversation to vague proverbs and metaphors. Nigerians are not looking for dibia. They want a leader with a clarity of purpose and vision. He mentioned, just a peep into the manifesto, talking about mortgage. Well, the mortgage system proposed by Mr. Tinubu, he had talked about that mortgage on several occasions, has been hailed by many across different political parties. Mr. Tinubu has consistently proposed his credit system to stem corruption. The former Lagos State governor stressed that a mortgage system will address the problem of corruption in the civil service. In the document, Mr. Tinubu is proposed to merge all federal agencies in charge of housing to create a single housing agency that can manage a mortgage system. The agency will have a threefold mandate to: 1, grant low interest rate mortgage directly, guarantee qualified mortgages issued by banks, and number 3, purchase mortgages, from private banks, etc. It read. He also proposed to review the Land Use Act to support the mortgage system. The manifesto states that the federal government will work with states to provide credit and incentive to developers of housing projects that set aside a significant portion of their project for affordable housing. He had talked about that seriously, but I don't see how that will make how will that stem corruption? How will mortgage system stem corruption? Oh, do you think people steal money just to build houses? People don't steal money. I don't think people steal money just to build houses. No, I don't think so. I don't think people steal money just to build. People steal money to buy even cars to buy. Yes, I know you had mentioned that people will not need to pay for their 4 million naira or 10 million naira car at once and all that. Now, but in 2015, the APC also proposed to create a mortgage market by reforming land ownership to give ordinary Nigerians easy access to title deed. We propose to give an opportunity to as many Nigerians who want to acquire their own homes through government's championed housing development funded by affordable nationwide mortgage system. The Buhari administration would argue that through the National Housing Fund and the Federal Mortgage Bank of Nigeria, it has enabled many Nigerians to own their house, but millions of working Nigerians still remain homeless and have to pay sometimes outrageous rents to landlord. Of course, severally in several aspects of the manifesto. I just want to round up at this point now, because there have been repetitions. They're just a kind of refining the manifesto of 2015. There's nothing new in it. You can go through it so that we don't just take time. We talked about education, proposed board to manage federally owned primary and secondary schools. The board will reserve membership space and decision-making power for members of the local community as well. The 2015 manifesto of the APC also promised to decentralize the management of primary schools to parents and community. Security. In 2015, the APC government promised to establish a properly trained and equipped federal anti-terrorism multi-agency task force to destroy Boko Haram and any form of insurgency. At that time, there were no issues of, there were some issues that were not even prevalent. The issues of kidnapping and all of that were, at the barest minimum until, recent times when, when that's, they began to happen. It also promised to create a federal anti-terrorism agency with properly trained and professional staff, combining elements of both the police and the security state service, which would be fully accountable to the National Assembly to conduct anti-terrorism and counter-insurgency operation. None of the promises were fulfilled. Of course, we can go on and on. Reviving textile industry. It was a promise made in 2015. It's repeated in itself now. It was a commodity board. It was a promise made in 2015, and then although the APC 2015 document did not promise a commodity board, it stated that the government will create a global price index for certain commodities. Of course, those are things that help them in the UK and in other parts of the body of the world, rather. Well, let me mention this. Mr. Keyamo, while appearing on Politics Today, a political program on Channels Television on Friday, said the economy was in a downward spiral when the APC government took over in 2015. Hence, the party was constrained in 2014. No less a person that Konje-Iweala, who was the then Minister of Finance, told everyone that we are headed to a recession. And so they're counting on that's the reason why Nigeria is the way it is economically. And that was the way they met it, and so things have not been able to get better, even though that was the promise that they made. According to the 2023 budget proposal, the current administration plans to spend 3.35 trillion on subsidy in the first half of next year. On subsidy in the first half. So that means if they're going to go for the whole year, it's going to be about 6.7 trillion. That is more than the budget, the total budget during Governor Jonathan, President Goodluck Jonathan's administration. That's more than the total. Because I think at some point it was 3 point something, it entered into 4, then it got to the APC before it shot up into 7 point something trillion as the budget. But now, just for subsidy alone, for half of the year, it is 3.35 trillion naira. I want to go. I want to go. I don't tire. He said, maybe we should just look at the conclusion. In his document, Mr. Tinubu said his government will strive to achieve stability of petroleum products supplied by fully deregulating the downstream sector and ensuring that local refineries' capacity will meet domestic consumption needs. That is the promise, part of the promise they made in 2015. My people, beware, be awake, be awake, be awake. He said in another paragraph, he said he will remove the subsidy in phases. Solution: we shall phase out the fuel subsidy, yet maintain the underlying social contract, between the government and the people. However, the debate on the domestic, the document continues as campaigning is expected to be in full throttle in the coming weeks. Of course, we'll see more details as time unfolds. Well, however, the removal of subsidy are designed to be, implemented in June next year when this administration will be leaving. Well, we would update you. Let us see how things unfold, especially on this particular matter. Thank you very much for joining us. This is Serious Matters on ONIF TV. My name remains Olukunle Abraham. Please do share this video with others. Like our videos. Drop your comments. We are always open to your opinion. Let's look things together. Let's talk. Thank you very much. We'll appreciate you. We appreciate you. We always do. Thank you very much for staying with us. Thank you, and thank you. See you again. So we'll bring you update. Bye-bye.